now. Reverend Glenn, you have the mic.
All right, thank you. Good morning.
Recording in progress.
And now we know we're being recorded. Okay.
Yes.
Now, just in case something does go wrong with the internet between here and Jamaica and back to the rest of the world, this talk will be available on Teacup Philosophy and my own YouTube channel. So, just in case, you can still catch the end of it because you don't want to miss it. All right. Thanks. And I hope you've had a very relaxing change of pace down in your hometown. Okay.
Sure did.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Well, something that is not different in Jamaica than it is here in Florida is that the moon shines at night. And life as we know it would not exist without the moon in Earth orbit. We all know the moon influences our ocean tides, and the tidal zones provide breeding and nursery habitats for countless life forms we rely on for foods and medicines and just amusement sometimes. But the constant agitation of the oceans stabilizes their water temperatures and influences weather patterns. Now, that big chunk of stone whipping around us also helps stabilize the wobble in the Earth's axis, contributing to generally more predictable climates, human interference notwithstanding. Now, the moon also impacts Earth's magnetic field, allowing us to make reliable compasses for navigation, and that allows us to explore and discover and leads to some really cool northern lights. It moderates the effect of solar winds. It has taken thousands of asteroid hits for us and may even have helped seed the Earth with the building blocks of life itself. Now imagine if Earth's moon were sentient and had just one clue of how important it is. Would it become insufferable? Or would it be like spirit, quietly soldiering on, doing what it does, never asking for fame or glory? Are you surprised to learn the moon is also a manifestation of spirit? Have you forgotten? Spirit is infinite, without beginning, without end, encompassing all matter, energy, thoughts, and ideas. Turns out our moon is a shining example of spirit. It is complex almost beyond comprehension, yet always shows us only one face. We can count on it to perform predictably as it always has and will for certainly as long as it matters to us. Even when it appears to go off script by glowing red, being eclipsed, or showing up twice in the same month, it is actually remarkably predictable. Careful observers and those who understand it are never surprised by these outlier events. Just like spirit. And having been spared our gift of free choice, the moon clings unwaveringly to its spiritual origins. Now, Ding Ming Dao, writing Everyday Tao Living, help me with the pronunciation there, the moon attacks no one. It does not worry. It keeps to its course and gently influences the earth. What else could pull an ocean to the shore? The moon is faithful to its nature, and its power is never diminished. Sound familiar? Now, think for a moment of all the people in your life who are not famous. Now, think about all the big names that appear in the news every day, show up on talk shows, make the big money, or wield power out of proportion to their ability. Which has had more influence on you personally? Which ones would get a seat on the ark if you were in charge of handing out the boarding passes? How much value has been added to your life by Wall Street bankers, Belgian diamond merchants, professional athletes, entertainment celebrities, or lifelong politicians? How valuable would any of them be if the human race were reduced to a handful of people with just a few hand tools at their disposal? My ark would be populated by teachers, scientists, mechanics, farmers, and others who toil each day not for recognition, but the self-satisfaction of having made the world a little better today. But Reverend Glenn, you may be saying to yourself, there is value in entertainment. We need people who can keep order within the chaos or maintain a system of fair exchange. And I reply that those talents exist within all of us, and as needed will emerge. As students of spirit, ours is to focus on the core principles. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "We see the world piece by piece as the sun, the moon, the animal, the tree, but the whole of which these are the shining parts is the soul. From within or from behind, a light shines through us upon things and makes us aware that we are nothing, but the light is all." When we value the people in our lives, when we value those traits within ourselves that contribute to our community's well-being, the improvement of the common consciousness, those things that leave the world better than it was found, we are exercising our unity with spirit. When we set out to collect accolades and wealth, we aspire to nothing. When we set out to contribute to the well-being of others, accolades and wealth follow. Now, the moon does not ask for our recognition, but there are many songs and stories of its influence in our lives. We are ourselves nothing more than that fabled tree falling unobserved in a distant forest. Our life in the forest will have been unremarkable, but as fallen timber, we provide habitat for all manner of life. We break down and add nutrients to the soil. And if lucky, we may have scattered a few seeds to perpetrate the cycle for another generation. No one may have noticed, but the effect of our having been there is undeniable. Allow me a personal indulgence, a quick story to which you may be able to relate. I hope you've had something similar in your life. In my formative years, I was privileged to spend several weeks each summer with my aunt and uncle who lived on a Kansas wheat farm where I enjoyed a lifestyle unknown to suburbanite teenagers. Each summer, the small farm towns in the area hosted each other to spirited softball competitions, each community fielding a team of their best, or at least willing athletes. You see, the caliber of the players was less important than the caliber of the cooks because the real competition was for the best ballpark hamburger. It was en route to one of these games in a nearby town where my uncle and I were emerging from a poorly maintained local gravel road onto the pavement of the interlocking state highway and happened upon a car stopped on the side of the pavement, hood up and steam broiling up from the engine. Two men One, a generation older than the other, stared helplessly into the churning cloud. A child stood back off the road, a look of total disillusionment across its face. I asked my uncle, should we stop to see if we can help? I knew the trusty farm pickup truck was well stocked to address most field emergencies, and my uncle was a volunteer fireman, and since I was living in the town, so was I. So, kind of geared toward this sort of thing. There were 2 gallons of water in the pickup truck bed, enough, we all speculated, to get the overheated car to the next service station where proper repairs could be made. So I confessed to my uncle as we resumed our journey to the softball competition that I would not even have slowed down had I come across that scene in the city. He confessed, too, that had I not been with him, he might have kept going, and noted that was a change in his thinking he was not especially proud of. The times, even then, and we are talking more than half a century past now, had smothered his instinct to help. His focus on his spiritual nature had been distracted by worldly events. With nothing more being said between us, a spiritual reset was gifted to both of us, and I am here to tell the tale, with no idea of how your ears will hear it, but knowing without hesitation a spiritual reset is yours for the taking. Now, Philip Heck at the Museum of Natural History in Chicago wrote that a new technology has revealed that lunar dust collected 50 years ago indicates the moon is 40 million years older than had previously been believed. The finding helps us better understand the moon's history, he said. We collect new experiences with each breath we take. In our busy day to day, it is likely important information slips by unnoticed in the moment. But it's there nonetheless for our consciousness, patient and unyielding, ready for us to use when our need is the greatest. With our daily spiritual practice, regardless of the form, we prepare ourselves to recognize new information regardless of how long we have known it without being able to understand it. The moon has always been the age it has been, but it took new eyes with new tools to reveal what has always been true. What new tools are at our disposal? What are we willing to let our eyes see? With all the good it does, for all its importance to us, what I find most impressive about the moon is that it does not hide its flaws. It has been beat up, stomped on, toasted by solar winds, and relegated to orbiting a rather insignificant rock, orbiting a rather insignificant star in one of the lesser galaxies, and it shows all its scars proudly for all to see. It does not care if the casual observer sees the profile of a Greek-era woman, a chubby-faced man, a rabbit in full flight, or just a pockmarked battlefield-like lifeless surface. The moon still carries on, carrying on. Spirit does not care what or how we think of it. It does not care if we sing its accolades, bring offerings, or make sacrifices. Spirit does not judge us by what we wear on our heads, the foods we eat, or the people we love. Spirit just keeps on keeping on. Spirit celebrates our flaws as the best we can do, knowing our best is limited only by what we know today. And today is closer to tomorrow than yesterday. And yes, I know I just put the concept of time into a description of spirit. Well, my humanity made me do it. Ken Wilber, writing in No Boundary, the individual is fundamentally one with the entire universe, with all worlds, high or low, sacred or profane. The sense of identity expands far beyond the narrow confines of the mind and body and embraces the entire cosmos. And yet we continue to experience life as individuals. We know we are more, but often we are overwhelmed by the evidence appearing around us. You see, we observe the chaos around us and assume it is real. When we are young, we are convinced that one day we will emerge from the chaos and be important. Time allows us to recognize we are and always were important. Not because we conquered the chaos, but because we learned to embrace it. Carolyn Miss in Sacred Contracts. By coming to know your mission, you can live your life in a way that makes best use of your energy. When you are working well with your energy, you are also making the best expression of your personal power. I call this living in accord with your sacred contract. The moon knows its mission and toils in silence. It does not hold rallies to brag about its heroic deeds. It does not belittle other moons, to make itself appear as more. The moon does the things it does not because they are easy, but because they are its to do, and the moon alone is best situated to do those things. Oh sure, Jupiter has moons, lots of them, but too far away to do what Earth's moon does. Saturn has moons and billions of lunar fragments, but their combined influence on Earth is negligible. It is that steady, unwavering devotion to its mission that keeps the moon living in accord with its sacred contract with Spirit. Can we do any less? Thomas More, writing in Care of the Soul, there are two ways of thinking about church and religion. One is that we go to church in order to be in the presence of the holy, to learn and to have our lives influenced by that presence. The other is that church teaches us directly and symbolically to see the sacred dimension in everyday life. In the Science of Mind, we say we do not teach ourselves what to think, but how to think. Church does not end at noon on Sunday. The moon does not stop its mission just because we do not see it. Like Spirit, it is always here, always casting its influence. We walk through our lives by our presence influences those we interact with. Even when others do not know they have seen us. It may be that anonymous person in an upper floor window who haunts our memories only to remind us there are more people on this planet than we can ever control. And each of them is entwined in our common consciousness. Whether or not we smile may set the mood for someone we will never know. So offer smiles generously. They cost nothing and can do so much. Most important, when considering the importance of a single individual, always remember the sun shines bright, but the moon shines at night. when we need the light. So thank you.